Okay, so question of the day for me is, when are the producers simply going to stop paying taxes? All we are seeing from our elected politicians and from our government on a local, state, and federal level is corruption. Absolute corruption, and the rule of law seems to be applied, not even seems to be, it's not applied evenly. There's two sets of rules. And quite frankly, I'm having a harder and harder time paying my taxes and feeling good about it. And not just because, well, I don't want to pay my taxes, but I'm actually having a really difficult time morally paying them, knowing that my money and my labor, basically my life force, is being used in ways that I find absolutely morally reprehensible. And we all know it. That's what gets me. We all know. I'm here in California. How many billions have we spent on high-speed no rail? Not a single piece of rail. Yet, just piles and piles of money being spent on high-speed rail, supposedly. And what do we get? Just more taxes. My registration went up about 35% this last year for my vehicle. The gas tax is ridiculous, and the vehicle registration tax is ridiculous. All these licenses and fees and everything else, we're just not only being nickel and dimed to death, I mean, we are being just sucked dry. And me, I actually have to write a check to the IRS and the, what do they call it, the franchise board or whatever it is. Can't remember, but the franchise tax board or something in California here. But I actually have to write a check to these people. And it sucks. It sucks having to write a check that you know is just going to be given to whoever just got here illegally over the border, the caravan to California from wherever, or I don't even know. But I'm really frustrated. I am frustrated to no end with a lot of stuff. And I'm wondering, how much longer am I going to continue to pay taxes? And how much longer, are we as productive, law-abiding citizens actually going to continue to support this stuff? And we're supporting it with our life force, because that's what money is. It's just a representation of your life force and your labor. And I'm just having a really hard time more and more feeling, I feel like I should not be contributing to this system. Not just in a way, Martin Luther King, there's a quote from him, and I wish I could remember it exactly, but he said that, I wish I could remember exactly, but basically, non-compliance with evil is as much of a moral responsibility as, man, I'm totally blowing it here, but basically that we can't just simply continue to comply with this evil stuff. No, we actually need to not comply. And we need to say that we're not going to continue to support this corrupt system. Because it is corrupt. Anyway, that's my struggle. I don't know how to get a group of people on board with what I'm talking about, because then what happens? Oh, well, probably just as bad as if the individual does it, and then all of a sudden they're going to come up with some other kind of charges or whatever. I mean, who knows? But at some point, there's going to have to be a group large enough that just says, no, I'm no longer complying with this evil, corrupt system. And I'm just wondering when are the Christians actually going to stand up and just say, I'm done? And, Rachel Reenstra has been getting a load of crap about her comedy and whatever from the Christian community. And I honestly, I feel kind of like in the same boat, not for the exact same reasons as her, but I listened to her comedy. Would it be something that I would necessarily get up and say or whatever? No, probably not. But at the same time, I've heard a lot worse. And quite frankly, there's a whole lot worse things that the Christian community could be getting their panties in a bunch over than what little bit she had to say. And anyway, so Christians, Romans 13, really? Does that mean submit? And we're just supposed to, look at Rome. I mean, the Christians back in Roman times, didn't Jesus say, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's? Well, here, look in my pocket. I have a $20 bill here in my pocket that has Andrew Jackson on it. Well, what would Andrew Jackson do? I seem to recall learning that Andrew Jackson kicked the bankers out and said, no, we're not renewing the charter for your bank. That's what Andrew Jackson did. I mean, does anybody have a dollar bill? What would George Washington say? What would these leaders do that are printed on our money? Are they just going to continue to comply? I mean, we are Americans, and if these Christians back in Roman times or whatever were just nice, compliant people, supporting and doing what the government says, okay, would they be getting burned alive and thrown, used as human torches and thrown to the lions and everything else, all because they were nice and compliant? I kind of doubt it. So maybe you ought to read the whole chapter, not just those few verses. See what it has to say. But yeah, Christian community, I don't understand. I don't understand why we are so okay with being compliant with evil. So that's my question. When are first the producers in California, in the United States, simply going to just say, you know what, I'm not writing that check. Not going to do it. Second, when are Christians going to actually support the real laws, right? I mean, we have the Declaration of Independence, which is the why, and we have the Constitution, which is the how. And in the why part of our documents, founding documents and the laws, it says that we not only have the right, but the duty to hold our elected leaders responsible. You should go back and read the Declaration of Independence. It doesn't take a super long time to read, but just look at the list of grievances, and I'll be damned if they're not nearly identical to what we have going on here today. So, Christians, when are you actually going to start supporting your government and supporting the rule of law? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? You know, got this from Chuck Baldwin, but the limited jurisdictional authority, isn't that what all authority is? I mean, it's not okay for the leader to be unjust and corrupt. That's not what we're supposed to go along with. I mean, were those Jewish women back in Exodus, were they just being compliant, and did they go along with what Pharaoh said? Or did they lie to him? And then God rewarded them for lying to Pharaoh? Oh my goodness. That's right, Exodus chapter 2. So, when's it going to change? I guess it's going to start with the man in the mirror. It always does. But I'm wondering. That's my question. So, comment about it. I kind of am curious to hear what you all have to say. Thanks.